Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me continue in English. Morocco is a good place to discuss this challenge. The country's geographic position gives it a front row seat on globalization, trade, and migration. For example, Marrakesh is well known not only for its history, culture, and beauty, but known to the world, particularly to the United Nations and international community, as the place they have set good practices and foundations, like the WTO through Marrakesh Agreement, and also through Marrakesh process, the foundation of Kyoto Protocol, that we owe a great deal to this great and beautiful city of Marrakesh. Morocco's vulnerability to climate change is a struggle to meet its expanding needs for water and energy. These are front lines, cross-border issues. And as a place where cultures come together, Morocco has been very active in United Nations Civilization, Alliance of Civilizations. This is also the right time to be talking about global governance. New economic powers have emerged. New challenges have come to the fore. Unlike any time in history, our challenges transcend borders. They do not respect borders. No country or group, however powerful or resourceful one may be, they cannot resolve this issue. Even the United Nations cannot do it alone without full support of member states and international organizations, regional organizations, and sub-regional organizations. That is the subject which we are going to discuss today. On interdependence deepens. Some of our old systems and setups have not kept the pace. We simply must find better ways of working together and build systems that are tuned to our times, ones that are more accountable, more representative, and more able to maximize our collective strength and maximize our limited resources to our best benefit of our global community. This is what global governance means to me. I see three main themes, main areas where we have to pull together our energy and resources. First, we need to pull together for the poor and vulnerable, most vulnerable people. And second, we must pool our energy and resources to stave off the climate change catastrophe. And third, we need to pull together on a host of new generation challenges. Let me take these three challenges, three areas, more in details. First, global governance for a world economy that works for all people, not only for a group of minority people or countries. Most of our current rules and institutions for global economic governance were shaped more than 60 years ago. Today, many developing countries are among the most dynamic drivers of economic growth. They will also be the engines of recovery from the global economic and financial crisis. Yet their voice in global economic decision-making is not what it should be. It's not what they deserve. Whatever else we learn from this crisis, this much is clear. Global economic management can no longer afford to neglect the most vulnerable or the disadvantaged people. We welcome the domestic economic stimulus packages by the developed countries, but they never neglect and lose sight of the challenges and plights of the most vulnerable people. I have made this quite clear to G20 summit leaders in Toronto that while we welcome your economic stimulus packages, that packages should never be made on the backs of the poor. It is morally, politically unacceptable to inflict the greatest burdens on those who are the least responsible to this crisis. It is a smart economics and smart politics to draw the poor and vulnerable back from the edge of despair and build a world of prosperity and dignity for all. We have a term for this: sustainable development. 2 years from now, the world leaders will gather again in Rio de Janeiro to renew our commitment to the ideals that were first embraced there in 1992. We also have a blueprint for bringing this vision to life. That is the Millennium Development Goals, which was adopted in 2000. That was the blueprint by our world leaders to lift billions of our people from poverty and provide decent educational opportunities, empower women, and cure and treat the diseased people. Last month, MDG Summit meeting generated strong political momentum. Almost 140 heads of state and government gathered at the United Nations. They renewed their political commitment, and they renewed their commitment that they would do all their political capitals to meet the targets of MDG by 2015. They also made significant resource commitments, including $40 billion for the global strategy for women's and children's health. At a time when many governments are tightening their belts, it is encouraging to see that national leaders are protecting aid commitments from the austerity knife. The next test comes at the G20 summit meeting in Seoul, Korea. Just 3 weeks from now, development agenda will be high on their priority. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, secondly, we cannot talk about Rio 2012 without focusing on Cancun this year. We need global governance to address the threat of climate change. Last year's Copenhagen Accord did not meet the expectations of all. That we agree. But we should not also underestimate the important elements which world leaders have agreed on Copenhagen Accord. In particular, there was important progress in building a broad political consensus. First of all, for the first time in history, world leaders have agreed that global temperature rise will be contained within 2 degrees centigrade by 2050. They have agreed to provide financial support to developing countries in the amount of $100 billion annually by 2020. There were also gains on adaptation, deforestation, technology transfer, capacity building, and finance support. Looking ahead, it is increasingly clear that the more we delay, the more we will have to pay in competitiveness, resources, and most importantly, human lives.